developing your own intuitive abilities. But if you are on an unnecessary quest right now because you may feel like your life has meaning somewhere else, you may be blocking that and fearing what your intuition is telling you. So, really, the advice between the two is to stop doing this to yourself, right? Your life has meaning right here, right now. Alright, Virgo. Here's your overall for the week. Strength. Needing to pull on your inner strength. What is it that you feel like you need courage to do right now? I don't so much feel like it's about losing your temper, but I don't know. I kind of feel like that. But I feel like it's more toward yourself rather than dealing with somebody else. Your circumstances are driving you now to pull on, your strength here to continue moving forward, to continue doing the right thing. But we'll see here. Now, in the past, the Fool. My problem with this is when we're looking at strength, absolutely it can signal that you've been weakened or drained by your circumstances, situation. You're needing to pull on the reserve to continue. But with the Fool being the past coming through, is it that you're needing to pull on the strength here to continue, having faith in the path that you've set before yourself? The problem is looking at quest. Now, the Fool can suggest that in the past you have taken a leap of faith into something here. Did you have blind faith? Did you have blind faith in a situation here, and now are you needing to kind of pick yourself back up with strength? Wow, Virgo, the sun. The sun. So, seeing clearly now what is happening, and I'm waiting to see how that's connecting here. But the sun, right? Like, if we're taking a new path, and you're having faith in the unknown, and you're pulling on your strength to do this with the sun, it may be a situation that kind of like brings you back to life, right? Revitalizes you, gives you a better sense of direction and sense of self. But, this is also seeing a situation for what it is, right? Everything being brought out into the light of day. Wow, Virgo, the hell is going on? Jeez, everything's like major, major. Death. There's no turning back, and that's what I get from this. Definitely a situation coming to a close, but in order for you to change, right? The phoenix rising from the ashes, finding the strength to, go through that transformation. And seeing that you need to do this, that things need to change in your life, and you can't go back. You can't go back to the way things were. You can't have blind faith in situations that let you down. You have to have faith in yourself, and faith that you have the strength to make the changes that need to happen here, because with death, you don't have a choice. Things need to change, and there is no going back with this. Wow. Virgo, the hell? Oh my god. I'm telling you, the moon as your best path to follow. I had a feeling that there's a reason why the sun was showing up in the present moment and needing to see something for what it really is. With the moon, you need to be careful about getting caught up in illusions, seeing yourself and your situation in a distorted way. Wherever there was confusion and you didn't have clarity, it absolutely is there in the present moment, but you need to see it. You have to see it clearly. Wowza. Man, everything is major, major this week. And with the Fool as the past coming through, though, too, with the moon, I kind of go back to this feeling of having, jumped into something that wasn't what it appeared to be. The sun is shining on everything right now. You're needing strength here to kind of pick yourself up, deal with the ending of the way things were and needing to change yourself. Wow. So help me God, Virgo. In your environment, the Nine of Wands, you're not letting it in. You're not letting it in. The moon is kind of prevailing on this, which is why it's your advice. Now, the other thing, though, too, with the moon is it's about paying attention to your instincts. And I kind of go back to supernatural. You may have committed to a path that you thought was the right direction for you. And you went full force with the Fool. But, that's coming to a definite end with death. But with the Nine of Wands, and this is why the moon is your advice, you're not letting the sun shine on you. You're not letting the sun clear up this situation. Because, this is like almost needing to face the reality of the situation, you know? And you can't go back after that. It's like you can't go back after the light has been cast on everything that you thought was something that it wasn't, right? But with the Nine of Wands, I don't think that this has to do with persistence because of these showing up here and you needing to pull on the reserve to let the light shine on everything. Don't block it out. But this is because you're wanting to protect yourself. Protect yourself from having to face the truth or face the reality of what isn't. Especially if you went full force into it. My God, Virgo, the hell is going on? Oh, your hopes and your fears, judgment. Yeah, and I would, given that, the moon is there, right, again, and needing to see things for what they are and needing to review things accurately here, I would fear that too, and needing to kind of face it, right? But also needing to lay something to rest once and for all. That would be the hope with judgment. Reviewing it, seeing it for what it is, it's over, it's done with, it is what it is, it's time for you to move forward, to move on. There's no point in blocking that out. The problem with judgment being hopes and fears is, having to face yourself, because like I've always said with this, the only judgment we ever face is our own. But man, oh man, Virgo, everything is happening in such a major way for you this week. And I certainly don't think that things are going to be as easy as they once were. For some of you, if you were, absolutely willing to jump into situations, you're no longer going to do that, especially if it's going to end with death where things are just done and over with. You can't go back and you're forced to change. Because this was big. Whatever it was that you jumped into was big. With all the majors, my God, but you can't block out the light, you know. But I think that this is you needing to look at yourself and everything that you've done up to this point, and that's the only way that you're going to go through that major rebirth, right? And find that strength again, Wow. Oh my God. Oh, I don't even know what to say. My God. This is going to be one of those pivotal weeks for Virgo, seriously. The lovers coming out. I mean, look at it all the way through. The strength to have the light shine on a situation that wasn't what it appeared to be. Needing to let down the guard here and just let it shine on everything so that it can be over with. The slate can be clean. You get to go through a rebirth, and with the lovers, being able to make choices that, are going to benefit you rather than feeling like you're constantly following this temptation that is not real. It's not real. It's not tangible. It's not something that is going to give you what you were looking for. And then the Seven of Pentacles, you definitely reevaluating things, looking at things a little bit differently and what you're willing to put your time and effort into. Now, with the Page of Swords, looking at the Fool, it's kind of going back to what I was saying in the first place. Jumping, head first into something and then being let down. The Page of Swords is like the bad news, the things that you don't want to hear, right? And this is needing to accept that and not try to look at it as something that it's not with the moon, right? It is what it is with the Page of Swords, and then, of course, looking at Judgment. This is needing to accept that, maybe things are not going to work out the way that you had expected them to. Now, with the Page of Cups, and again with the Sun, this is you blocking out any kind of new emotions, new communications, blocking out the reality of the situation. because it's not easy to accept that, you're not hearing what you want to hear with that Page of Swords. I don't think that this is needing to look for more information. I don't think that somebody's using information against you. I really do think that it's you needing to accept that this may not have been what you wanted to hear, but it is what it is. But, when we're looking at the Page of Cups, especially if you're dealing with somebody who is mentally and emotionally immature, I can understand why, you're wanting to block this out. But I really think that because of judgment being hopes and fears, looking at the moon as your best path to follow, that you're just blocking out the reality of the situation. These are things that you have not felt before because it's so big. Like, it's so big. Now, with the Seven of Pentacles, the thing is if we're talking about dealing with somebody who's emotionally mature and mentally mature, this is you looking at the situation now going, you know what, I can't go back because I'm not seeing what I want. It's not worth my time and effort anymore. Which is where we're looking at this major life choice to accept the ending of the way things were, and going into a place where you get to, be reborn through all of this and find your inner strength again to kind of, like go through a brand new chapter in your life. But it's not that you're completing something, it's like you're letting something die, letting it just be left to, laying it to rest. It's no longer worth putting in the time and effort. The potential growth that you need to be looking at is your own. Especially if you're feeling all of these new things in such a major way in regards to what you have experienced or what you continue to experience. My God, Virgo. Whew. And a lot of this is going to be based on communication that comes through because of those two pages. But you have to see the truth, right? You have to see the truth. You can't live in that illusion anymore of what it isn't. Because what it is right in front of you. You can't block it out anymore. And, eventually you get to a point where you can't, Man, this one's heavy, but it feels good, though. All of it looks really good, except for, some of the circumstances and how major this is for you this time. And you've already taken risks before, looking at the Fool, right? Taking a risk and then having things not go the way that you wanted them to. No matter what we're talking about here, whether you're dealing with a person, a work situation, a love in general, or a major relationship with the Lovers coming out. But I look at this and I feel like with patience, it's saying have patience with yourself, have patience with the situation, right? And again, finding that inner strength here not to, freak out or lose control or get really angry at yourself, because I kind of get that with that. But having patience and surrendering to what you need to see. But also, patience and then surrendering to, things that may feel like it's a risk to take, but, it doesn't mean that this time things are going to be bad. Like, I look at this and I feel like if you're being asked to surrender, right, and to surrender to everything that's happening and just surrender to what is and leave it be, it doesn't mean that the next thing that comes along is going to be too risky. You are going to have to take a risk here. But with patience, it's going to be something better for you. As long as, that major choice that you're making in the end is worth your time and effort, right? Speak the language of love. Loving words have the power to change someone's life, including your own. And that, I feel like, is for you. Demonstrate love. If you can't demonstrate love to yourself, you can't accurately demonstrate it to others. So find out what is important to you. And then when it comes to the people who love you and support you, then absolutely find out what is important to them and show them that you care, right? Demonstrate that love. But you have to do this to yourself, and you need to start speaking better to yourself, I feel like, looking at